From the color of their eyes to the size of their heads, there are so many physical characteristics that are found in geniuses. If you want to discover just how smart you really are, we're about to show you all the body parts and everyday habits that'll prove your level of intelligence. If you have siblings, you don't want to miss what researchers have to say about your IQ level. Stay tuned to find out. If this is your first time visiting our channel, don't forget to subscribe and give us a big thumbs up. Today we'll be showing you 10 signs you're actually a genius. Pupil size. If you really want to know how smart you are, you don't need to take an IQ test. All you have to do is look at the size of your pupils. Yes, that's right. According to a study by the Georgia Institute of Technology, there's a direct correlation between the size of the pupils and how smart you are. A total of 512 participants took part in the study to determine the exact relationship between resting pupil size, their memory capacity, and their intelligence level. The participants' pupils were measured by eye tracking units that monitored their eyes while they carried out various mentally stimulating tasks. When the study was finished, the results were shocking. Researchers were able to determine that there was a major difference in the size of the pupils in those individuals who had a lower intelligence and those with a heightened sense of intelligence. A finding in the study showed that those with higher cognitive ability had a much larger pupil size. So are the eyes truly the windows to intelligence? Well, if you believe the findings of this study, then the answer is yes. This experiment is quite controversial, and many believe the findings of the test are inconclusive. But even so, it's still pretty interesting to think you can tell someone's level of intelligence just by gazing into their eyes, don't you think? Finger length. Next, we're going to show you how your hands can determine just how smart you really are. In a study published in the British Journal of Psychology, researchers compared the finger lengths of 75 children in relation to their standardized assessment test scores. In their findings, they determined there was a clear link between the children's performance on the test and the lengths of their index and ring fingers. Each finger was measured using calipers, and the length of the index finger was divided by the length of the ring finger. The total was called the digit ratio. Boys with shorter index fingers were found to excel in math, while girls with index and ring fingers of the same length were determined to be much smarter. Scientists believe the length of the fingers has to do with different hormone levels that a baby is exposed to in the womb. These hormones are said to have an effect on the brain and on the length of our fingers. Now that we've given you a bit of information, we bet you're staring down at your hands right about now, aren't you? Well, what do you see? Is your ring finger the same length as your index finger? If so, leave us a comment down below. Body hair. This next intelligence test might seem bogus, but it has a lot of research to back it up. A psychiatrist named Dr. Elias has been studying this relationship between body hair and intelligence for over 2 decades, and his results will amaze you. To begin his research, the doctor studied the bodies of various American medical students. Through his findings, he discovered that there was a correlation between intelligence and the amount of body hair male medical students had. According to his study, doctors and those who are considered highly educated tend to have hairier chests. He also researched the academic ranking of the students he examined, and he discovered that the hairier men have higher IQs. But that's not all. He also studied the bodies of male Mensa members. Mensa is a non-profit organization that's considered the largest and oldest high IQ society in the world. Only people who can prove their intelligence by taking a test are eligible to join this prestigious club. Dr. Elias discovered that the majority of male Mensa members had more hair on their body in comparison to the average population. So there you have it. If you're covered in hair on your chest and back, don't bother shaving or waxing it off. Wear it with pride because it's a sign of just how intelligent you really are. Your height. Some researchers believe there's a difference in the intelligence level between short and tall people. 2 researchers from the universities of Pennsylvania and Michigan discovered that your height when you reach the age of 16 years old can determine your social status and how much money you'll make as an adult. So, what does your salary have to do with how smart you are? Well, the study showed that those who are taller earned a much higher paycheck, and they believe that smarter people held jobs that allowed them to collect a higher pay. Another study conducted by Princeton University also found that tall people earn more money, and they also suggested it was because of their higher sense of intelligence. The researchers of this study followed 2 groups of students. One group was born in 1958 and the other was born in 1970. They checked in on the students as they researched adulthood, and they found that those who were taller than average at a young age earned more money as adults and had a higher than average intelligence level. But don't let this study determine how smart you are. Our height is what makes us unique, so no matter if you're tall or really short, you're still special in your own unique way. Night owl. Do you find it hard to fall asleep at night? Well, if you consider yourself to be a night owl, we have some surprising news for you. Staying up late and being unable to go to bed at a decent hour may not be such a bad thing after all. In fact, the time you go to bed can actually determine if you're a genius. To prove that the night owls have a higher IQ, a group of Americans and their sleeping patterns were closely monitored. In the findings, it was shown that children who grew up to be night owls as adults are much more intelligent. The children with the high IQs would go to bed later on weeknights and on weekends than children with low and normal IQs. As an example, the study determined that kids with IQs less than 75 had an average bedtime of 11:41 p.m. on weeknights, while children with an IQ over 125 generally fell asleep around 12:29 a.m. So what's the real reason that a later bedtime is directly related to intelligence? Well, some believe it's because at nighttime, while everyone else is asleep, the highly intelligent person likes to stay up late to think about life and come up with new ideas. Eye color. For this next test, you'll need to look at the color of your eyes to determine how much of a genius you really are. No matter if you have light eyes or dark eyes, it doesn't really matter. These two shades are each related to how well you perform at a series of tasks. To complete the study, a researcher looked at people with light eyes and those with dark eyes. The people with light eyes were found to perform better at behaviors that require delay and self-pacing, such as golf and pitching a baseball. And individuals with dark eyes performed better at behaviors requiring speed, sensitivity, and reactivity, like boxing and hitting a baseball. Another study was concluded to determine the intelligence levels of those who have blue eyes and people with brown eyes. According to U.S. scientists, they found that people with blue eyes may excel when it comes to academics, and they are more strategic in their way of thinking. And overall, brown-eyed people aren't bookworms, but they're much better when it comes to playing sports. So what color are your eyes? Do you think scientists are really able to determine how smart someone is just by the color of their eyes? Eldest child. So far, we've shown you so many different intelligence tests to determine if you're a genius, but some of these tests don't really require much research, like this next one on our list. To find out if you're smarter than average or not, you might not have to look any further than your own family tree. In a study, researchers looked at the relationship between IQ and birth order in males. The differences were very small, but they were noticeable enough for them to conclude that the eldest male child in a family usually has a higher IQ than his siblings. So if you're a guy and you're the eldest in your family, congrats! You just might be a genius. But researchers were also quick to point out that their findings have nothing to do with biological factors or genetics. It was all based on family dynamics. More studies will need to be conducted in the future to see if the results apply to women who are the eldest in their families as well. Do you think researchers will come to the same conclusion, or do you think birth order has nothing to do with how smart someone is? Vegetarian. If you're a vegetarian, your love for veggies is probably related to your commitment to eating a plant-based, healthier diet. But according to a University of Southampton study, there could possibly be a link between intelligent children and a vegetarian lifestyle. In the study, 8,179 men and women had their IQs tested when they were 10 years old. By the time they turned 30, 4.5% of the participants said that they either converted to being a vegan or a vegetarian. Those who labeled themselves as vegetarians were found that the IQ test they took at the age of 10 had a score of 5 points above average. The scientists concluded that because becoming a vegetarian has its benefits when it comes to living a healthier lifestyle, it's a lifestyle choice that many clever people tend to make. The study also found that the vegetarians were more likely to be female, they had a higher occupational social class, and they had higher levels of education than non-vegetarians. But surprisingly, there was no difference in the IQ score between those who were strict vegetarians and more lenient vegetarians who enjoyed fish or chicken from time to time. But even if you're a meat lover, there are still other ways for you to prove that you're a genius. Keep watching our video to find out how. Head size. If none of the items on our list have applied to you so far, there's absolutely no need to worry. We still have a couple more ways for you to prove to the world that you're smarter than average. For this next test, you might need to ask your parents for some help. To determine your intelligence, you'll need to know the circumference of your head at the time you were born. In a study, it was determined that the average size of a newborn's head is a little over 14 inches for boys and a little more than 13 inches for girls. But if your head was a bit bigger than this when you were born, it's possible that you just might might be a genius. Scientists have linked the size of an infant's head to show how smart they will be when they grow up by studying 100,000 Britons. The size of their head at birth was recorded and matched up with their intelligence and cognitive test scores. In the end, it was found that the bigger the head, the smarter the child. These individuals were also found to be more academically inclined later in life. So, what are you waiting for? Go find out if your head was larger than average when you were born to determine if you're a living, breathing genius. Toes. Okay, we saved the best for last. Here's another way for you to determine your level of intelligence, and it's the easiest way of them all. To get started, all you need to do is take off your shoes. And if you're wearing socks, go ahead and take them off too. All done? Okay, great. Now stare down at your toes and tell us what you see. Is your big toe smaller or bigger than your second toe? While you're typing your answer down below, we're going to give you a bit of a backstory on how a long second toe has been honored and paid homage to throughout history. Having a short big toe and a long second toe actually has a name. It's called Morton's foot, and it dates back to the early Greeks and Romans. They found the look of a long second toe to be very appealing, and that's why many of the statues from the time period, like Michelangelo's David, had second toes that were much longer than the rest. But aside from that, many people believe that the size of your toes is related to much more than ancient Greeks and Romans. They think it can actually determine how smart you really are. People whose big toes are longer than the rest are considered to be very smart and creative. They can see things from different perspectives, but they might have trouble focusing and finishing up projects. On the other hand, those who have a big toe that's smaller than the second toe are known for being great multitaskers. They are said to be very efficient, charismatic, and they can influence others with their great ideas. So no matter what kind of toes you have, we're sure you're full of some great characteristics and traits that make you absolutely amazing. If this video just proved that you're a genius, let us know which traits you can relate to in the comments section. And while you're at it, check out our friends at The Trendy to see more cool videos for teenagers. Thanks for watching!